What's up, YouTube? Today we're doing my first Reboot review. I've decided to do the review on the Willy Wonka movies due to the recent release of Wonka last year. Do you feel old yet? I remember liking the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory as a kid. I haven't seen it in years before making this video. So yeah, I just had this memory of it as a kid, that it was a cool movie, and they also played it in the local candy store, which was pretty cool. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the Tim Burton one, I actually didn't ever see it before this video. I saw snippets of it as a kid, but I had no opinion on it because I didn't actually sit down and ever watch it. Oh fuck, I was supposed to shut the fucking curtain. You guys didn't see anything, right? Don't look at it. Don't stop looking at it. What was I saying? So the newer film doesn't actually have anything to do with this video because it's a prequel, not actually a reboot, but I still want to talk about it because this comment. I went into Wonka thinking I was gonna fucking hate it. I went into Wonka thinking this is some corporate cash grab and it's gonna suck. In fact, my friends had to drag me there, and unlike Deadpool and Wolverine, I didn't even hope it was gonna be a good movie. I just hope it would be over soon. When the movie was done, I said out loud, that is the stupidest movie I've ever seen in my life. And I loved it. I loved it so much. It's such a good movie. Now, is it a corporate cash grab? Probably. I don't know. I don't know the intention behind making the movie. However, I will say it was really fun. It's a really fun movie to watch. It's funny. It has its clever moments. And as a nitpicky critic, it didn't do a thing to piss me off. At least as far as I remember. But I would recommend watching the new Wonka movie. Now let's get into my first Reboot review. Now, my relationship with the book is that I haven't read it. I know both movies deviate from the book a little bit. I know that the Burton film is a lot more faithful to the book, but I'm going to disregard that entirely. The book is not going to have any effect on my opinions or the criticisms I give to these movies. I am going to judge these movies as their own individual things. So, since this is my first Reboot review, I want to describe the format. With my Reboot reviews, I'm going to review the first film, and then I'm going to review the second film, and then I'm going to choose which one's better, and then I'm going to rate both of them out of 10. And my rating system is different from the school's rating system. 5 out of 10 does not mean an F. And here is how I rate movies. 1 out of 10 means there is nothing redeemable about this movie. 1 out of 10 means this is the bottom of the barrel. This movie was created to spite me. 2 out of 10. This movie's a heaping pile of shit. There's something good about it. There's something there, but not really. And it's mostly just a heaping pile of shit. 3 out of 10. An overall bad movie. It's just a bad movie. Plain and simple. I wouldn't call it a heaping pile of shit, per se, but it's a bad movie. 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10s are movies that are just like mid, forgettable, overly campy. Like, it's not a terrible movie, but I wish I didn't see it. 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10s are given to 2 types of movies. 1, movies in which I'm completely indifferent to. Now, completely indifferent actually does not mean completely indifferent. It means that I kind of like it. I mean, I like it enough to not have not wanted to see it, if that makes sense. It's a movie that I have no problem with, but I have no, like, I don't have anything great to say about it. It wasn't really impressive at all. Or a 5 out of 10 can also be a movie in which I'm heavily conflicted on. So a movie that has as much bad elements as it does good elements, and they kind of cancel each other out. Then we got 6 out of 10. This movie was good, and I enjoyed it. Then we got 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10s are movies that I almost love. These are movies that, it's just like, if it was just slightly better, if there was something a little more to it, then I'd be throwing it in my collection. It's just like right there. It's just right there. I almost love this movie. 8 out of 10. I love this movie. 9 out of 10. I'm a total fucking nerd about this movie. I will tell you how much I love this movie. Because this movie, I recommend this movie. Go see this. You have to see this movie. 10 out of 10. This movie has reignited a wondrous zest for life that has been long dormant in my barely beating heart. Since seeing this movie, I look at the world through a slightly different lens. I will never be the same person I was before seeing this film. Okay, obviously that's a bit of a hyperbole, but you get where I'm coming from. Alright, we're going to start off with the 1971 film Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, directed by Mel Stewart, and Willy Wonka was famously portrayed by Gene Wilder. I'm not one to comment on opening credits, but these opening credits have struck me. It's like those satisfying Instagram reels that are pure brain rot, but like you just can't help but looking at it because it's, satisfying. It's basically the visual equivalent to good white noise. They also just start out with this incredible music, just this whimsical, adventurous tune. Right out the get-go, I'm hard as a rock. The score is just fantastic, iconic, magical, pure boner fuel. And the first notable scene of the film is the Candyman scene.
They do it because they were born to do it. Just like Willy Wonka was born to be a Candyman, and you look like you were born to be a Wonkerer.
I love this guy's shirt. I want this guy's shirt. I'm getting this guy's shirt. He sings,
Who can take a sunrise?
While not my favorite song of the movie, it still rocks. It fucks hard. It's also shot pretty well, but I don't understand how this fool makes money the way he's like fucking tossing candy out for free, filling up fucking cups of soda for these rascals. I mean, it kind of makes me think that there's like a door fee, and it's like an all-you-can-eat buffet, but you have to pay to get in. Which would make sense, because when we're introduced to Charlie's broke ass, he's just kind of like peering through the window all sad. He's all like, oh, I'm so poor. He's tossing out candy for free, dude. Go in and get some. Like, he's throwing, it's like, it's gotta be hitting the floor, too. Like, go get some candy, dude. Again, unless there's like a bouncer at the front of the door taking a door fee, saying, go kick rocks on your side of the poverty line, Charlie. Go eat some Wonka cigarette butts, you fucking freak. We learn he delivers newspapers. And we also learn it's payday. So he's running around throwing papers at houses until he comes across the Wonka factory. And he peers through the gates. And he just stares at the Wonka factory until some tweaker approaches him. And it like gives him a riddle or something.
Up the airy mountain, down the rushing glen, we dare not go a-hunting.
And he looks absolutely petrified. And for good reason. This guy's got meat cleavers and scissors hanging off some fucking cart. Who is this lunatic? Why is he in this movie? I don't know why this guy's in this movie. He doesn't come up again. He's just wheeling around a fucking knife cart, giving little kids riddles. This is the kind of thing that modern filmmaking lacks. Tweakers. We learn his dad is fucking dead and all his family is old and lazy, so this kid has no life because all these old lazy people, they eat cabbage water. They eat cabbage water! He's like, I'm fed up with cabbage water.
I'm fed up with cabbage water.
They're like, what are you saying? You dare speak poorly about cabbage water, you brat? Come to find out, Charlie bought some bread. Yay. Then he gives some money to his mom, and then he tries to buy his grandpa tobacco. Yay. We learned from this old fart that Wonka shut the gates of his factory because spies were going in dressed as workers and, getting all these secret ingredients out of there. Especially Slugworth. More on that later. So the next scene is at school and some little twerp impidumps of the whole premise. There's 5 golden tickets. So class is dismissed and yada yada yada. So in between being introduced to all like the winning kids that are finding the golden tickets and Charlie's poor miserable life, we get these like skits that are like world building for like the search for the Wonka bars. And I don't want to spend too much time discussing them. So I just want to address them here. And I want to say that I actually thoroughly enjoyed them. I mean, it sets the pace for the movie, and they're funny. The humor in this movie is really well done. We quickly meet the first of the 5 children. It's some German kid, Augustus Gloop. We're gonna call him Fat Kid. This scene was funny.
Mr. Gloop, would you mind saying...
Then some creep whispers to him, it's Charlie's birthday! Yay! His grandpa buys him a Wonka bar, and then this quote is said,
I've got the same chance as anybody else, haven't I?
You got more, Charlie, because you wanted more.
And this quote actually stands out to me. I mean, on one hand, it's actually a good chunk of wisdom, and like I appreciate the lesson it gives. And then on the other hand, it doesn't really apply to this situation because it's essentially gambling. The quote doesn't really match the actual context. Then Charlie does this.
I got it!
Where?
Let's see! Fooled you, didn't I? You thought I really had it.
Dick move, Charlie. You're a little bitch for that one. Then we meet the next winner, a British brat that goes by the name of Veruca. We're gonna call her Brat.
This one's for all my bad girls.
When one of the poor factory workers finds the golden ticket, we see Creepshow again. Then we meet Violet, who I'm gonna call Gumhead, who is also caressed by Touchy McGee. Then Charlie whines to his mother.
There are only 2 tickets left, you know? Just 2. Pretty soon, just 1.
I wonder who the lucky ones will be.
Well, in case you're wondering if it'll be me, it won't be. Just in case you're wondering, you can count me out.
What a fucking pessimist, dude. This dude, sack up, bro. Then his mom sings the most boring song of this fucking movie. It's basically saying, one day you'll be happy, one day you'll get lucky. I think this song, along with like the Grandpa Joe quote from earlier, kind of sums up my problem with this Charlie as a protagonist. The whole, you have more of a chance because you want it more, only actually works if you're actively seeking your goal, if you're like actually working towards your climax. Charlie doesn't ask his newspaper boss for more hours so he can buy more chocolate. He simply says, I want it more, and then waits for it to fall into his lap. It paints this like idea, this false moral, that just because you're a good person, that'll help you reach your goals, that alone. And it kind of sucks because I actually like this dynamic between all of these spoiled kids that are very easily getting golden tickets because they were born into families with money, while Charlie might actually have to work extra hard to get his ticket, showing that when you're like born poor, you have to work extra hard to get the same result as those born more privileged. And I really wish they delved into this aspect more instead of just having the poor kid get lucky because he's pure of heart or some crap. Then we meet Cowboy Brainlet. Mr. Touchy Buster is handling the microphone. Charlie opens his second Wonka bar with his Grandpa Joe.
All right. Here goes.
You know, I bet those golden tickets make the chocolate taste terrible.
Honestly, this is actually a very heartfelt scene. I like this scene. They announce the last ticket has been found. So obviously very depressing, very heartbreaking, blah blah blah. Charlie's walking down the street and then he finds a coin. This has nothing to do with the actual review of the movie. I just like to think that in the newer Wonka movie, the coin that he drops is the coin that Charlie finds. That's just my own headcanon, and you can disregard this entirely. Anyway, he buys a Wonka bar, and surprise, surprise! Charlie's got a motherfucking golden ticket. Then some lady just chucks him into a stampede of adults. Thankfully, his newspaper boss saves him, and he, runs home, but not before he's stopped by the diddler. And surprise, surprise, the diddler reveals himself to be Slugworth. He's like, give me a gobstopper and I'll give you a shitload of money. So he runs home and he shows this golden ticket to his Grandpa Joe, and suddenly, the floor ain't so cold no more. And this dude spent so much of his life lying in bed that he had to learn how to walk again. How do these people shower? How do they shit? That's why they're called the Bucket Family. But this dude can sing.
I've got a golden twinkle in my eye.
And they're throwing clean clothes on the ground. The mother spent so long stirring those clothes in a clothes soup. The next morning we see the main cast outside of the gates of the Wonka factory, and that's when we meet him. Wonkered. They go in.
Little surprises around every corner, but nothing dangerous.
Yeah, right.
Just through the other door, please.
Hey, there is no other door! There's no way out!
Well, I know there's a door here somehow. I don't like this one. I don't like it at all. Is it a trick or something, Wonka? Hey, Mr. Wonka, hey!
This is the most unhinged group of people If this were me and my homies, we'd be calm.
How do you like that?
What is this, Wonka? Some kind of fun house?
Why, having fun?
I've had enough. I'm not going in there.
Come on, Violet, we're getting out of here.
These people have no joy. One little shenanigan, and they're losing it. The chocolate room and pure imagination.
If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it.
Iconic. Creamy. Just an inspiration overall. Story time! One summer, for about 2 to 3 weeks, I was sent off to my aunt and uncle's property in Myrtle Point, Oregon. There was absolutely nothing to do up there. Absolutely no Wi-Fi, no cell service. By design, of course. They wanted us kids to get away from screens, live in the moment, explore nature, get a couple splinters, get covered from head to toe in poison oak. Well, I spent most of my time up there sitting on a dirt hill, listening to 3 songs that I had downloaded on my phone. One of those songs being Pure Imagination. And it has not gotten old. This song will never get old. It's timeless. It's the secret to immortality. The colors in this scene are nothing short of magical. This scene is executed perfectly. This is where we meet the Oompa Loompas. Little orange dudes. Little Cheetos and overalls. This is also where Fat Kid falls into the river and gets sucked up a tube, while Wonka is standing there like a psychopath. And then we get our first Oompa Loompa song, and they just go in on this kid, man. Like, they are heartless. And I'm not gonna continue describing it, I'll just let you hear it for yourself. Oompa Loompa Doompity-doo, you are too fat, you. Oompa Loompa Doompity-daps, your body's riddled with a bunch of gross flaps. What do you get when your fat is a pig? We didn't think people could get that big. We wished you drowned under all that chocolate, 'cause you're grotesque and you smell like shit. You probably cannot wipe your ass. Oompa Loompa Doompity-dim. The next golden ticket will be to the gym. Then maybe you will be more fit and not smell like some Loompa Dumpity shit. Then we come across the boat scene, and I don't understand the point of it, but I like it, and it's pretty cool. I like the addition to the movie. Didn't mean to punch you, I'm sorry. Get fucked. Then we get to the inventing room where Wonka starts passing out the gobstoppers. You know, the thing that Slugworth was asking for. And Gumhead goes blueberry.
What's happening?
You're blowing up like a balloon!
Like a blueberry.
Which brings us to the next Oompa Loompa song. Oompa Loompa Doompity-doo. Now you're like the fat kid except you are blue. Oompa Loompa Doompity-doff. You dumb little asshole, you're pissing us off. Aren't you aware chewing gum can be bad? Now us Oompa Loompas are curb stomping your dad. A mouthful of gum, what can you even say? Don't you know chewing gum looks gay? Try smoking a cigarette. Oompa Loompa Doompity-dip. Someone rolled this idiot off of a cliff. Or use helium, send it to the moon. Like a stupid, ugly, retarded balloon. Anyway, they move along, and we get another iconic quote.
We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.
Slap that on a fucking calendar, or I don't know what I'm doing. I give up. I'm done. YouTube, I'm over. It's over. Slap that on a t-shirt. Then we come across the iconic burping scene where Charlie and Grandpa Joe sneak off and then drink some soda and then fly towards the fan and then burp and fart. And I don't like this scene. I think this scene sucks. I think it's gross. It's just gross. It's like, I don't like to watch it. It's not my style of humor. Not only is it gross, but it's like so out of character for at least Charlie. Like, I don't really know Grandpa Joe that much. All right, I don't know the guy. I've never met him outside of a couple times. But like Charlie doesn't even hesitate. He's like, I don't know, Grandpa Joe. We probably shouldn't do that. No, it was just like, yeah, let's do that. Let's go fucking sneak off, disobey Wonka, and fuck shit up, you know? And that's like so out of character. And they just needed an excuse for the scene at the end. But yeah, I'm not a fan of this scene. This scene is definitely working against the movie. This scene is a Then we're on to the goose scene, and Brat sings a pretty catchy song. She might be a brat. She's like, I want a geese. I want a goose. I want a goose. Give me a goose. I want a goose, and I get a goose if I want a goose, cause I'm rich. But then they send her down the trash chute, and the Oompa Loompas take over. Oompa Loompa Doompity Dand, I wanna show you the back of my hand. Oompa Loompa Doompity Dish, you're not just annoying, but you're also British. What do you get without contraceptives? A whiny little shit to which everyone's subjected. Hey little girl, no one likes when you cry. We just want to see you die. Why don't you just kill yourself? Have fun in the trash down there. Maybe you'll find some dental care. You're the epitome of spoiled and rich, because you're a dumbass, cunt-ass, dopey bitch. Then there's the Wonka-mobile, which creams all over them. Then we arrive at the Wonka Vision area, where the brainlet gets all Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And you know the Oompa Loompas are gonna diss him. Oompa Loompa Doompity Day, your life was going nowhere anyway. Oompa Loompa Doompity Did, the 70s equivalent of an iPad kid. What do you get when you're under 5'7"? A future career at the 7-Eleven. We hope you're happy that you got your wish. Now we will feed you to the fish. Yummy little cracker. Oompa Loompa Doompity Dane, looking like a low-budget knockoff John Wayne. Cowboys are dated, unlike short men. Throw this reject in the Target bargain bin. At the end of the tour, Wonka gets all passive-aggressive towards Grandpa Joe and Charlie, and he kind of shoos them away. But Grandpa Joe don't play that way. Then Wonka throws a fit about the soda they snuck, and then Grandpa Joe's all like, "Come on, Charlie, we're just gonna go give that gobstopper to fucking Slugsworth and get a shitload of money." But Charlie, bless his heart, gives the gobstopper back to Wonka. And then Wonka's all like, "You did it! You won!" And then Slugworth comes out and he's all like, "Don't worry, Slugworth works for me because he's not Slugworth. He's somebody else. And he was my employee this whole time." Twist of the century.
Pleasure.
Slugworth.
No, that's not Slugworth. He works for me.
For you?
I had to test you, Charlie, and you passed the test. You won!
Now listen carefully, because I'm going to make you very rich indeed. The everlasting gobstopper.
Then they take the Wonkavator, get shot up into the sky, and Wonka's all like, "You won everything." Something strange about this last scene though, Wonka says that he needed a kid to take over, but nowhere does it say that like the Wonka tickets were explicitly delivered to kids. In fact, there was a bunch of adults searching for them. So that is kind of a plot hole. And that's it. That is the first film. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, released in 2005, directed by Tim Burton, with Willy Wonka being portrayed by Johnny Depp. And we can tell the differences starting with just the opening credits. It's not very whimsical. It's kind of dark. It's very Burton, you know? Obviously it's Burton. It's going for like this dark and mysterious sort of vibe. I mean, it's Burton. Come on. It's Burton. Do I gotta say anything else than that? You know, it's Burton. But yeah, it's like this cold bled of magic. I just think it's kind of obnoxious. In the factory itself, it's just like, it's less Wonderland-esque and more just industrial. This movie also takes place in like a snowy landscape, and I don't know if that was Burton's creative choice or if that was pulled from the book, but it definitely does take away from, well, the warmth that the first movie had. Not that that's inherently a bad thing, though. When we meet Charlie, who, unlike the last Charlie, has darker hair, which is an interesting point to make, how like the littlest details get changed by the directors and how, I don't know where I'm going with this. They're different, and it's cool to me. Also, unlike the original Charlie, this one is accompanied by a narrator, which I personally think is a bit more lazy. The narrator also just digs into him.
He was not faster or stronger or more clever than other children. His family was not rich or powerful or well-connected. In fact, they barely had enough to eat.
Charlie is also not as likable or charming. He certainly doesn't smell any better. Charlie is also kind of dumb as bricks and stupid and probably doesn't have much of a future at all, and Charlie is also stinky and we hate him. So the differences of the Bucket family are as follows. The dad is alive and is working at a toothpaste factory. The house is disgusting. Charlie is making some fucked up model of the Wonka factory. His grandpa Joe used to work for Wonka, and he actually shares a little interesting story. He sort of goes into the origin of Wonka a little bit more than the last film, and we get our first little glimpse of Johnny Depp's Wonka. He kind of reminds me of Michael Jackson. And lastly, we got this fucking guy.
I'd give anything in the world just to go in one more time and see what's become of that amazing factory.
Well, you won't, because you can't. No one can. It's a mystery, and it will always be a mystery.
Shut up. Then we get the announcement of the ticket contest, and I gotta say the world building around this is a lot more boring than the original. Then we get more of Grandpa Bitchy.
You have as much chance as anybody does.
Balderdash. The kids are going to find the golden tickets are the ones who can afford to buy candy bars every day. Our Charlie gets only one a year. He doesn't have a chance.
Then we meet our fat kid, and he talks a lot more. And the jokes about him being fat are a lot less subtle. I just think the portrayal of the character is a lot worse in this film. Then we meet Brat. It's less like hectic and crazy, and more just like robotic and organized. And again, I think the portrayal of this character is also worse. I haven't said many good things about this movie yet. Then there's the scene where Charlie opens his first Wonka bar, and there's just something off about this scene. It just feels like it's lacking some emotion. And then there's like this really awkward scene where they all like take a bite of chocolate. It kind of makes me uncomfortable. It's very unsettling. Then we meet Gumhead, who is actually now Trophy Head. Her character isn't so much focused on chewing gum. I mean, it is, but it's like, it's more geared in the position like a pride and ego thing. Like, she's very competitive. And honestly, I actually like this portrayal better than the original film. So, 1 point, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Then we meet Cowboy Brainlet, who is actually now Gamer Brainlet. Or even Gamer Smarty Pants. It's the modern spin on the glued to the TV child, and honestly, I like the direction they were going with this. It's like new, but it's the same. It's this generation's brain rot. And I actually like this like advancement. You know, it's like instead of watching TV, he's now a gamer, because with this time period, it makes more sense. If we get a third Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie, this will be some brain rot TikTok kid. And again, as I said, he's also supposed to be sort of like this nerd ass, which is also a very interesting direction to take the character in. There's also this twist that he hates chocolate, which I also think is funny. I think that's a good twist to have there. I think that's a good taste of irony to sprinkle in the movie. I also want to state right now, before we get too far into it, that there's this reoccurring bit later where every time he talks, Wonka's like, "Don't mumble, I can't hear what you're saying." And this bit gets so old. Like, it's funny the first time, and then it's like, oh, it's so annoying. And while I do actually enjoy the direction they went with this kid, I don't want to say the portrayal's better, just because the last kid was just more kind of bearable to watch. I think both characters are done well, and both make sense for their time period. So, thumbs up to both movies for this one. We then learned that Charlie's dad lost his job because with the Wonka craze, people bought more toothpaste, which led to more sales at the toothpaste factory, which led to him being replaced by a machine, which is not a very necessary touch, but I kind of liked it. We then have this weird scene where Grandpa Joe gives Charlie some money to go buy another chocolate bar, and his eyes close, and then when his eyes open, Charlie's already back, and it's like really weird. I'll just show it to you guys.
Run down to the nearest store and buy the first Wonka candy bar you see. Bring it straight back, and we'll open it together. such a good...
Grandpa.
You fell asleep. Have you got it?
It just seems so lazy. I don't know. It's not good. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I'm going to compare the budgets of the movies real quick. So the original film had a budget of $3 million, while Charlie and the Chocolate Factory had a budget of $150 million. But we got to account for inflation, so really, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, $14 million in 2005 according to some website I used. So the budget difference there is Tim Burton basically had $136 million more dollars. So I don't understand why this corner was cut, or any corners were cut for that matter. Anyway, the chocolate bar had no ticket. The rest play out the same. I mean, there's a fake ticket announced, Charlie finds some money, Charlie buys a chocolate bar, there's a ticket in there, adults hassle him, although I will say in the Burton film they at least offer him money instead of just like tackling him. But unlike the original film, the pacing of this is just all off. I think there's just like no suspense built. Just watching both films, you can really tell that there's something off about the pacing of this movie. It just feels like a lot of stuff is cut. The world building does not have as much substance as it did in the first film. Speaking of pacing, Grandpa Joe sees the ticket and just hops out of bed. No big deal. I think a part of it actually is in the entire first act, it just seems rushed. I mean, we don't spend any time with Charlie outside of this gross ass house, so we have no idea what he does, like, all day. It just kind of feels like the movie's just hitting the plot points it needs to hurry up and, like, usher us into the second act as fast as it can. But then there's this scene.
We're not going. A woman offered me $500 for the ticket. I bet someone else would pay more. We need the money more than we need the chocolate.
And this is actually a rather incredible moment. I mean, it actually sets Charlie up as this selfless person. It's actually a much better contrast to the original Charlie, who kind of just whined a bunch. Luckily, Grandpa Downer kind of spits this fire.
There's plenty of money out there. They print more every day. But this ticket, there's only 5 of them in the whole world. And that's all there's ever going to be. Only a dummy would give this up for something as common as money. Are you a dummy?
Throughout this entire movie, there's a notable absence of Slugworth. Not a big deal. Then we're at the gates of the Wonklet factory.
Eyes on the prize, Violet. Eyes on the prize.
Cringe! We get it. We know the stereotypes surrounding her character. This is unnecessary. When the gates open, Wonka does not greet them. Instead, he greets them with an empty courtyard and loud speakers. And it kind of just gives me prison vibes. This scene rules, though.
Well...
Willy Wonka, the amazing chocolatier. Willy Wonka, everybody give a cheer. He's not as clever and so smart, he barely can restrain it. With so much generosity, there is no way to contain it.
I'm gonna say it right now, I think Wonka's portrayal in this movie is worse. I think Johnny Depp is a much worse Wonka. I don't think it's necessarily him. It could also be the writing and the directing surrounding it, but it's just not it. The first Willy Wonka, Gene Wilder, kind of seems like a clown without makeup. He's just like this fun, artsy, unpredictable character. This Wonka is creepy and awkward and weird. This Wonka seems like a cross between, as I mentioned before, Michael Jackson and also Dr. Evil. That's what this Wonka is. I'm not a fan. Then there's this scene.
And the rest of you must be there.
Parents.
Yeah. Moms and dads. Dad? Papa? Okay, then.
Fucking cringe, dude. Cringe. It's hard to watch. And I know I kind of gave shit to the last group of people because they were all crazy and hectic. But this group is way too calm, considering that Wonka comes off as a kid diddler. However, I do actually like how the adults and the kids sort of interact with each other this time, as opposed to just being like their own contained characters that just are side by side with one another. Then the chocolate room, and I'm conflicted. I mean, it definitely looks brighter and a little more colorful, but at the same time, it just doesn't look as magical. It doesn't seem as, I don't know. I definitely don't prefer it. It does have its own unique charm, but I think it's a lot worse. And this is where the Wonka, instead of being awesome and singing a song and stuff, is just boring. And he kind of just like, it's like, come on guys, come on, let's go look at, I'm gonna talk and he like info dumps and it's just boring. I mean, look at the comparisons of each scene.
We'll begin with a spin, traveling in the world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation.
Now, do be careful, my dear children. Don't lose your heads. Don't get overexcited. Just keep very calm.
Hurry up, Violet.
This way, Grandpa.
The waterfall is most important. Mixes the chocolate, turns it up, makes it light and frothy. By the way, no other factory in the world mixes its chocolate by waterfall, my dear children. And you can take that to the bank.
Why hold on to it? Why not start a new piece?
Because then I wouldn't be a champion. I'd be a loser, like you.
You tell me which one's better. Then we meet the Oompa Loompas. This time we actually see the origin of them in like Loompa Land. And this scene where he eats like a slug or something. It's also unnecessary and boring. I mean, I liked in the first film how it's like, oh, they come from Loompa Land. And like, everyone's like, what? That's not a real fucking place. And it's just kind of like this wacky thing. But in this film, it's all like they show you Loompa Land, and it's kind of just overkill. You know, it leaves a lot less to the imagination. And again, I know it's from the book. But this version of Wonka, instead of emphasizing that he saves them from terrible monsters, there's a more emphasis on the fact that he's paying them with coca beans. And that is like, it's weird. It's just weird. Now, I know I said I haven't read the book, which I haven't, but I did watch a video on the book. And I know there was some controversy that the original Oompa Loompas were basically little black African people, and then they got changed because obviously they got changed. But this actor is African, and these Oompa Loompas do have like this sort of tribal feel to them. And this is how Wonka calls them. I might be reading too much into it, but it's just sort of weird. And then when the fat kid falls in the river, the pacing is still just sort of like off. Wonka doesn't have like the same energy at all. Like in the original film, he runs like, "Don't touch the chocolate, don't touch the chocolate." And this one, he's like, "Please don't touch the chocolate." And then the fat kid just falls in like immediately. There's no tension being built up. There's no suspense. It just happens so fast, and it sucks. And the Oompa Loompa songs in this are like super flashy, and it's just like, what the hell?
Augustus Gloop, the great bakery nincompoop. Augustus Gloop, so big and vile, so greedy, foul, and infantile. Come on, we cry, the time is right to send him shooting up the pipe.
But don't, dear children, be alarmed.
Augustus Gloop will not be harmed. Augustus Gloop will not be harmed.
Like, what is that? I don't like it. Now the boat scene. And for the most part, this scene's also just a lot more boring. There are some cool parts where they like slide through tunnels and stuff, but overall it's just them yapping. The narrator also comes back. Forgot that there was even a narrator in the first place. We get a flashback to Willy Wonka, who's in a reverse bear trap.
Hello, Amanda. You don't know me, but
And we learn his dad is a dentist that throws all of his Halloween candy into a fire. I mean, he hates candy because he's a dentist, but he also lets Wonka go trick-or-treating. It's implied that he cares about Wonka's dental health. In turn, he cares for Wonka, and he obviously lets him have fun going trick-or-treating. So why doesn't he care enough to provide a fun alternative to trick-or-treating and eating candy? I'm reading way too much into this stupid flashback. I just think, like, for me, it just doesn't add up. The inventing room. This scene has a hairy Oompa Loompa, which is fun, but everything looks so put together, which is not very fun. Like, the machines just seemed so polished. Because in the first movie, everything in the inventing room was sort of just like a mess. But it seems like this Wonka has like OCD or something. Because it's just like, much like the scene where we're introduced to the brat, it's just way too put together. Way too orderly. And then we get the Gumhead scene, and she's just like straight up handed the gum. Like, it is just like, she doesn't like grab it and run off with it. She is literally handed it. And she's just holding it. And while Wonka is just yapping and yapping about what the gum is, she could be putting it in her mouth at any moment. And then right before she puts it in her mouth is when Wonka's like, oh, please don't do that. This girl was set up. Gumhead was set up. Then there's like this atrocious CGI. Again, it has a much bigger budget, and it just looks worse. Oh no, here they come.
Just like a violin.
Then we get a flashback of little Willy Wonka sneaking a candy and getting all serial killer about it. Then notably we skip the burp scene, which is fine by me. That scene is not going to be missed. But then we come across the geese room, which is not a geese room, but a squirrels and nuts room. And these are real squirrels, which is very cool.
Daddy, I want a squirrel. Get me one of those squirrels. I want one.
Did they only give this girl one take? She sounds like she's reading that off her dad's forehead. So the spoiled brat runs down there, grabs a squirrel, and they go feral. And while she's getting attacked by a bunch of squirrels, and Wonka's trying to, like, pretending that he can't open the gate to let her dad go save her, the dad is just standing there. The gate is, like, up to his knees, or maybe a little higher, and he's not, like, stepping over it. He's just waiting for Wonka to hurry while his girl is getting mauled by squirrels. And then they throw her down a hole. Then the moment we've all been dreading.
Veruca Salt, the little Brute, has just gone down the garbage chute.
Now, we're already in the Wonkavator. We see that Wonka's factory is actually impossibly big, and then we get this quote.
Why is everything here completely pointless? Candy doesn't have to have a point. That's why it's candy.
Shut the fuck up. Candy's point is to taste fucking good. You can tell whoever wrote that quote thought it was gonna be some fucking deep, iconic, wise quote. It's just stupid. That's a stupid quote. Then we get a flashback where Wonka runs away to become a chocolatier, and then his dad's house like disappears or something. It's not important. Then we come across the television room. The nerd-ass says this.
What about people?
Well, why would I want to send a person? They don't taste very good at all.
Don't you realize what you've invented? It's a teleporter. It's the most important invention in the history of the world. And all you think about is chocolate.
And you know what? He's totally right. That is some solid logic. I don't know why the movie's trying to portray this as like he's the bad guy here. Wonka's the bad guy here. Anyway, so he puts himself in the TV, and then obviously...
Very much regret that we shall simply have to wait and see if we can get him back to sight, but if we can...
This leaves Charlie as the last kid, and fuck did I forget about him. He does absolutely nothing this entire time. Throughout the entire guide, we don't spend any time with Grandpa Joe or Charlie, just boring Wonka. Wonka is like almost the protagonist during this whole second act. Finally, we're back in the Wonkavator, and then we get the scene where they shoot up into the sky. Then we see all the loser kids all losered up, and then they fly into Charlie's fucking house through the roof. And then we cut to Willy Wonka getting a goddamn haircut. And this is important. This is the most important scene in this movie, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why right now. I didn't expect this scene to be in this movie, but I thought I was hoping to see it. Do you want to know why? Do you know what the big deal is? All right, Burton and Barbers are like Tarantino and feet. There's like a barber in every fucking movie that I can think of. Okay. I haven't seen all of Tim Burton's movies, alright? But I've seen Sweeney Todd. I've seen Edward Scissorhands, and those are obvious. But I've seen Beetlejuice. Probably some others. And every movie, it's like every Tim Burton movie, there's like some sort of barber there. And nobody talks about this. Nobody thinks there's a lot of barbers in Tim Burton movies. I feel like I'm going crazy. What the hell? This scene isn't important at all. This scene is just like it serves as just like a small little thing that can be wrapped up in a sentence. Burton put this barber in the movie for some unknown reason. It's the Burton barber conspiracy. Then we see the real twist of this Wonka. He wants to abduct Charlie from his home. You can't bring your family, Charlie. Just you and me. I knew he was a goddamn diddler. And when Charlie declines, Wonka just fucks off, not offering to pay for the roof he broke of the very poor family. And then he's like creepily stalking Charlie. And eventually, he coerces Charlie and babysitting him to go meet with his father. And then they get in the elevator, and instead of going to see Wonka's fucking father, Wonka just kidnaps Charlie. Okay, I'm kidding about that one. But you see how it sounds believable? They go to his dad's office, they hug it out, Charlie accepts his invitation on the condition that Wonka joins his family, the narrator's a fucking Oompa Loompa, blah blah blah, the end. Is Charlie in the Chocolate Factory better? Well, if you watch the video, you probably know my answer. No. This version of Wonka is just absent of any charm or magic. And while a lot of like the brats, like the privileged spoiled kids that got the golden tickets are more fleshed out, Charlie is flattened. Charlie gets less screen time, which is weird. The world around it just seems a lot more lifeless. The music was awful. The Oompa Loompas are fucking cringy. And the humor that was like a staple of the first film just doesn't hit as much in this movie. And it's not like this movie isn't funny. It has its moments, but the first one really knocks it out of the park. The first one being more colorful and musical definitely fits the story better. And because Burton's directing style is so like dark and mysterious, it kind of just bleeds that world, and it doesn't really add much more to it. And in a similar fashion, Depp's creepy Wonka is not creepy in a good way, it's just creepy. Like, Wonka's supposed to be this wacky nut job, and in the first film, it's more like Mad Hatter, while in this film, it's more like cringe idiot. In all seriousness, this Wonka is just kind of like exaggerated quirkiness. It's like what a theater kid would go for. And I definitely believe that Reboot should try to approach the film in a new way. I just don't think Burton and Willy Wonka make a great combination. I'm a fan of Burton's work, at least the 3 movies I mentioned earlier, but I just don't think it fits with the story. Anyway, I give the first film an 8 out of 10, and I give the new one a 4 out of 10. And that's that. Wait, what's that? No. Oompa Loompa, Doompity-doo. Your videos suck and your camera is poo. Oompa Loompa, Doompity-das. Go get acquainted with some grass. What do you do when you're sad and unemployed? Criticize movies other people enjoy. Newsflash, loser, no one cares what you think. Go find a bottle of bleach to drink. Who the fuck is Ty Stone? Oompa Loompa, Doompity-deen. We all love Deadpool and Wolverine. You are just a hater that's sour, a miserable fuck in need of a lumpity shower. Like and subscribe.